This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Brett Baer in Washington. It's not the biggest political news, nor will it change foreign policy, but one thing is clear. People will be talking about this tonight. The National Football League has announced its punishment for the New England Patriots and its star quarterback Tom Brady for underinflated footballs, the so-called Deflategate of the AFC Championship game. The NFL says Tom Brady will be suspended without pay for the first 4 games of the regular 2015 season. The Patriots will be fined $1 million, and the team will also have to forfeit 2 draft picks, including its first-round selection in the 2016 draft. The NFL also suspended indefinitely the 2 equipment staffers who carried out the plan. Joining me now from L.A., Fox News sports analyst Jim Gray. Jim, your reaction to this news?
Well, it's definitely a shocker. It's unduly harsh, it's unprecedented, and there was no definitive proof in that report. So it's really, really difficult for anyone to really ascertain how Roger Goodell came up with this decision when just months ago he gave a 2-game suspension initially for Ray Rice, and that caused all of the domestic violence. There's no smoking gun in this, Brett, and I do believe that if this is appealed by Tom Brady, which we all expect, this will not hold up on appeal. The appeal for Ray Rice did not hold up with an independent arbitrator, nor did the appeal for Adrian Peterson. So there's no way, without any definitive evidence, to point to Tom Brady that this will hold up.
You know, Jim, considering all of the attention that this has received since that AFC Championship game, do you think it was the combination of all the things the NFL has dealt with that led to this move?
Well, I just think the commissioner found himself in a difficult spot, having made such a big mistake before, and now he has to overly punish here for this. You know, this did, in his estimation and the estimation of the investigators, change the competitive integrity of the game. That's really debatable, since it's kind of an inside baseball thing, and who knows what advantage, if any, was procured by this, and this type of stuff goes on all the time. If you look at the Wells report, you can see that the balls that were tested of the Patriots came out of compliance if you take one of the meters by 0.021 of PSI. And by the way, 3 out of the 4 balls of the Colts that came back were out of compliance. So we're talking about a very thin line. I think the punishment perhaps is more that they feel that Tom Brady did not cooperate by not turning over his cell phone and his emails. That's not a requirement here. No deposition, there's no subpoena, but I think they felt that he didn't help in the investigation.
They say rules are rules. Jim, as always, thank you very much. We'll follow this to see the reaction, but on to politics. The Clinton team has stepped up its attacks against one author. A key Clinton ally is accusing the author of the book Clinton Cash of resorting to McCarthyism to bring down Hillary Clinton. This, as another potential presidential candidate, doubles down on the decisions of the past. We have Fox team coverage tonight. Chief political correspondent Carl Cameron with Jeb Bush taking a stand with his brother on Iraq. Senior political analyst Brit Hume is here with a look at how Bush is talking about his Christian values to an evangelical crowd. But first, Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry with those fighting words aimed at the author of Clinton Cash. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Brett. Lanny Davis does not have an official role with the campaign, but he's a longtime friend of both Bill and Hillary Clinton, and today he assumed the unofficial role of attack dog.
Thank you.
Hillary Clinton's allies today ratcheted up their campaign to discredit Peter Schweizer, author of the book Clinton Cash.
When I was raised in the 1950s, I'm showing my age, there was a gentleman named Senator Joseph McCarthy who held up a piece of paper. I have here in my hand 400 people working at the State Department who may be communists. Headlines across the United States. The words maybe are no different than Mr. Schweizer, who I give credit for never saying I have a single fact suggesting a speaking fee or a donation is connected to Secretary Clinton's policy decisions.
The comparison by Lanny Davis to McCarthy, whose Senate career eventually imploded after he falsely claimed in 1950 that 205 communists had infiltrated the State Department, drew a swift rebuke from Schweizer.
You know, I think it's crazy. I mean, on the one hand, they're saying that the book is a dud, there's nothing in the book, but their actions say otherwise. It shows me that they're very scared and they're very concerned about the contents of this book.
Clinton spokesman Brian Fallon declined to comment to Fox about Davis's comments, pointing to the campaign's previous statements disputing the book. And Clinton aides today stressed the candidate loves her brother, Tony Rodham. but noted they live separate lives, amid a front-page New York Times report charging the sibling has used the Clinton Foundation to try and get rich, including a failed attempt to secure housing contracts in Haiti after the devastating earthquake.
I think it tells us something about Tony Rodham, but it tells us something even more important about the Clinton Foundation, that you have in its orbit all these sort of insider crony deals that seem to be taking place at what is supposed to be a charitable organization.
That comes as New York Magazine reported the Clinton Foundation has been waging an aggressive behind-the-scenes battle with a nonpartisan charity watchdog, hoping to be removed from the watch list for suspicious behavior by the watchdog Charity Navigator, which recently declared, quote, "We had previously evaluated this organization, but have since determined that this charity's atypical business model cannot be accurately captured in our current rating methodology. Our removal of the Clinton Foundation from our site is neither a condemnation nor an endorsement of this charity."
Now, that watchdog has thus far not given in to any of that pressure. Hillary Clinton, meanwhile, has not taken a question from a reporter in nearly 3 weeks. Brett?
Ed, thank you. Now to the GOP race, and one potential candidate making it clear he's not going to change his position to win favor with popular opinion, even in his party. As chief political correspondent Carl Cameron reports, Jeb Bush, who has yet to officially announce his run, seems to be digging in his heels to show he's the man for the job.
Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush says if he runs and wins, he'll reverse the executive actions by President Obama on immigration that conservatives call amnesty and abuse of power. But he's stuck to his commitment for a path to legal status this weekend for some undocumented immigrants.
There's got to be a point where we fix this system so that legal immigration is easier than illegal immigration, and show some respect for people.
Meaning both immigrants and voters, whom he said deserve a candidate who won't simply flip-flop and pander. In an interview with Megyn Kelly, which airs tonight, he disputes conservative conventional wisdom that his positions are too moderate to win his party's nomination.
I don't know that. I've been traveling over the last 3 months, and I get a sense that a lot of people can be persuaded, to be honest with you. Do you want people to just bend with the wind? To mirror people's sentiment, whoever's in front of you? Oh, yes, I used to be for that, but now I'm for this. Is that the way we want to elect presidents?
He reiterated his reliance on his brother for foreign policy advice and said, like the former president, he too would have used military force against Iraq, noting that most Democrats, including Hillary Clinton, backed the invasion. He was quick to note agreement as well that the action was based on misinformation and had serious early missteps.
The intelligence that everybody saw, that the world saw, not just the United States, was faulty. And in retrospect, once we invaded and took out Saddam Hussein, we didn't focus on security first. By the way, guess who thinks that those mistakes took place as well? George W. Bush.
Your brother. While liberal critics accuse the George W. Bush administration of putting pressure on the Intelligence Committee to conclude that Iraq was restarting its nuclear weapons program, in his new book and in an interview with Fox News, former Deputy CIA Director Mike Morrell completely denied it.
That's just not true. Nobody pushed us. We were there. In fact, we believed all of that even before President Bush came to office. So that myth is just flat wrong.
In New Hampshire, Rand Paul, who opposed the Iraq War, slammed Bush for backing the government's secret collection of American phone records, which began during his brother's administration.
We have one candidate who won't mention any names, who was a former governor in Florida, who says that the best thing the president is doing is collecting all of your phone records without a warrant.
But Paul was upstaged during his introduction by a staffer who spotted a Democratic super PAC taping the event, and after trying to obscure the shot, literally licked the camera.
Sorry, folks. Politics, particularly when it's HD, sometimes gets a little bit gross. Brett?
It does indeed. Carl, thank you. Coming up later in the show, more of my interview with former CIA Director Mike Morrell. He sets the record straight on the decision to invade Iraq, as you heard there, mistakes dealing with al-Qaeda, and yes, Benghazi, from his point of view. Former Governor Jeb Bush delivered the commencement address at Liberty University over the weekend. His speech defended religious freedom generally, Christianity in particular, highlighting the ongoing legal battle between religious group, the Little Sisters of the Poor, and federal regulators.
You might even say it's a choice between the Little Sisters and Big Brother. And I'm going with the Little Sisters.
Senior political analyst Brit Hume joins us now with a look at Jeb Bush's defense of Christian values and what else he said this weekend. Good evening, Brit.
Hi, Brett. Jeb Bush's catchy comment about the Little Sisters versus Big Brother was actually part of as thoughtful an argument for Christianity as I've heard from any politician in years, if not ever. But it was more stirring read than spoken, and it didn't bring the 34,000-strong Christian audience to its feet. Indeed, what made more news that day was his refusal in the Megyn Kelly interview to distance himself from his brother on the Iraq War. All of which illustrates that Jeb Bush has charted a most unorthodox course to the White House. In contrast to Hillary Clinton, who is reversing herself with abandon on a position she held in the past, Bush is sticking to views that fly in the face of much conservative sentiment. Yes, he still supports the Common Core education standards while opposing federal coercion to impose them. Yes, he still supports the kind of immigration reform many Republicans oppose as amnesty. Even when articulating views on taxes, regulation, and energy, which nearly all conservatives support, he does not serve up the kind of red meat rhetoric that excites crowds and can't help a candidate stand out in a crowded field. He is clearly hoping his conservative record as Florida governor and his calm and thoughtful style of campaigning can see him through the Republican nomination and leave him well positioned for a general election. It may work, but make no mistake about it, it's a gamble.
Now, quickly, Britt, Megyn asked him, knowing what we know now, would you support the Iraq War?
Right, and he answered the question as if she hadn't said knowing what we know now, because his answer was based on what he would have done in light of the intelligence that was available at the time. That answer is haunting him now. I'm seeing it on social media everywhere. He's being criticized for saying, even knowing what he knows now, he would have done Iraq.
Brett, thank you.
You bet.
Of course, you can tune into that interview tonight, 9 p.m. with Megyn Kelly. Up next, a summit snub. Several Gulf leaders say no to a meeting with President Obama. First years of some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 42 in Omaha with a prison riot that left 2 inmates dead. Corrections officials say more than 100 inmates were involved in a riot at the Katumsa prison over the weekend. No staff members were seriously hurt there, and officials say the prison is now secure. Fox 12 in Portland, Oregon, with a family that says they were kicked off a flight because of a misunderstanding over their autistic daughter. Donna Beagle says her 15-year-old became restless because she got hungry on a United Airlines flight. Beagle says after some convincing, flight attendants brought her a meal, but the flight also made an unscheduled stop to remove them from the plane. Beagle plans to sue for a change in flight attendant training. And this is a live look at San Diego from Fox 5. A sailor out there had an unexpected visitor overnight. He woke up to sounds of snoring and sneezing on his boat. When he went to investigate, he found a sea lion curled up in a bunk. He managed to convince that intruder to leave peacefully. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.